And he got up on a little knoll to look over and see if there was a little bitty narrow ledge, that I could have walked around, but said there wasn't nothing. And he got worried. He said, what happened to our brother? Wonder what happened to Brother Branham? And when he got scared, he said, he heard me speak. And I was standing up on top of a mountain. I'm told, Brother Beeler, an interpretation of a dream that I give him not long ago and told him to wait on the Lord, that someday I'd meet him on an island. And there he was. Now the interpretation of that dream is this. Insomuch that the stream was large, it was a stream of life. I was going westward on it, and so was he, because he was on a road. He was running down this road, and on the other side was lots of grass, but lots of thickets and briars and jungle. But in there was much grass. And that's the way we hunt for the Lord and the food of the Lord through difficult. Rounding up the cattle was this church. Keeping them on that side. Cattle will actually go on the smooth road, the denomination, if they can, which the road represented denomination. I started him back up the road to see that they did not go to any denomination. Insomuch that he saw a wall that was totally impossible to pass, that kept me from going west, was that tax case with the government. Then I ever got out of the wall that blocked me off. But the Lord taking me through it. And I was over it. I'll meet you, Brother Beeler, on the island. So now, then immediately after that, Brother Roy Roberson. Brother Roy, are you here tonight? Yes, I believe. What? Over at the side. He called me and he had a dream. And he dreamed that we were rounding cattle. Now that is the third one. Rounding up cattle. And there was grass bellied in. Plenty of food. All of us brethren were together. And we come to a place for dinner. And Brother Fred Sothman raised up and said, Elijah, the great prophet, will speak from here today at noon. And then when we all had dinner, everybody went away. And he wondered why they didn't wait to hear it being spoke. Now see how that exactly curbs with Brother Jackson? See that exactly hits exactly what Brother Beeler said? No one waited to find out. Notice, immediately after that, Sister Collins, are you here, Sister Collins? Dreamed the dream of being here at the church, and there was a wedding fixing to take place. And when she did, she saw the bridegroom come in perfect. But the bride wasn't very perfect, yet it was a bride. Now that's the church. And there was like a communion or a service going on here, like a dinner being set. And it kind of got next to her because that Brother Neville was serving a dinner in the church, but she said it was the best food that she'd ever seen. She was so hungry. But she thought maybe that in the dream that he shouldn't serve it. And she and Brother Willard was going to go up to the ranch house and eat. And when they did, the light on the right-hand side went out. You know what that is. Now, the food, the bride isn't perfect, but the bridegroom is perfect. The bride is not perfect yet, but the food that was being given was not literal food. It's the spiritual food that you've been having all along. Let me stop here on that fourth dream. Just a moment. Do you not remember Brother Fred Sothman, Brother Banks Woods? When we was out in Arizona last year, when we were out hunting javelina hogs and the Lord spoke, don't you know the things He done perfectly, showing what would come to pass as we went along the road? If that's right, you brethren, say amen. Never misses. And I saw in a vision while we were driving one day, a vision of the Lord came to me, and I was getting ready to, at that time when I come back home, to go overseas. And when I went overseas, well, I saw on the ship, or side of a sea, where the ships went out. And there was a little short man there, and he said, I have prepared a boat for you, Brother Branham. And it was a little bitty canoe, about a foot long. But it was snow white. And he said to me, this is for you to cross in. Oh, I said, it isn't sufficient. He said, it'll go 40 miles an hour up and down this way. That's up and down the bank. But I said, it won't take me across. And then he looked down and said, go like they go. And I looked, and there was Brother Fred Southman and Brother Banks Woods sitting in a canoe painted green with some camping rigging in the back of it. Brother Banks with a turned-up hat like this, Brother Fred with his pinched on the bill. And he said, go like them. I said, no, I won't. And this man said to them, the little man said, are you boatmen? Brother Banks said, yes. Brother Fred said, yes. But I said, they're not. I am a boatman. And I know I wouldn't go just for that, and I'm sure I wouldn't go that way. He said, well, you go with them. I said, no. Well, I turned. And when I did, the little man of the dock turned out to be my good brother, Brother Arganbright. And I went back in this vision, and there was a little long building. And then a voice said to me, and all of you remember this, or many of you, a voice said to me, bring in food. Store it in. That's the only way to keep them here, is give them food. And I had brought in great big barrels full of the prettiest carrots and the prettiest vegetables and things I ever seen. Do you remember now the vision? Now, and I told you later what the interpretation was. I was supposed to go to Zurich, Switzerland with Brother Arganbright for a 5 nights meeting. I told a brethren before it happened, I will not go. And I was down with Brother Welch Evans down there when it give the interpretation. One night, I believe Brother Welch come and got me. We was going on a fishing trip and said Brother Arganbright was calling me. I said, all right, here it is. They're going to put me off. And many times, not through Brother Miner, he's one of the finest friends, but sometimes, if they think you're going to preach something that's against their doctrine, they just say you're going to be there to get your friends there. And they said, Brother Arganbright called me up and said, Brother Branham, just what the Spirit said. Said, you come on, bring your wife with you. Said, because you won't have to preach very much. Said, because I think they only got you for one night. And said, you might not have to preach that one. And I said, no. Well, I said, come on, you and your wife, you all come on, see, and if you do, I'll take you on a tour. My wife and your wife and all of them, we'll go up through Switzerland, over through Palestine. I said, no. I had the interpretation. I told Brother Welch or Brother Fred and them, I'll tell you in the morning, but first my wife has to say something. And when I called her, then she refused to go. I said, here it is. See? Now, that little white boat was that one meeting. It's all right to go anywhere here on the bank with one meeting, but it's not enough, though it was white and good, to call me across seas. Brother Fred and Brother there represented in the vision. They represented go as a tourist for fun. But I did not care to do that. And refusing them to be a boatman, it meant they wasn't preachers. But I was a preacher. And then the food in that little long building, I did not go overseas and return to this little building, and we made dozens of tapes of the pyramids and everything to show the people the hour that we're living in. Now compare even that with the others, the dreams. This was a vision. The food. Here it is. This is the place. Notice. Then what took place? Then immediately after that fourth vision come on, or fourth dream was told me, up come a brother Parnell. He's here somewhere. Right here. And Billy wasn't here, and the man was frantic. He's from Bloomington, I believe, or what, Bedford? Lafayette. Holding meetings. And he had a dream, and he come down to Brother Woods, and he said, I just can't let this go. I've got to tell it. Got to tell Brother Branham it's bothering me. And God knows, not one dream in between them. Just come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Brother Parnell said, I had a strange dream. I dreamed that I was going to have a meeting up there, and somehow or another, there's a meeting here in a new church, like. And said this new church had come out, that he wondered why they wasn't cooperating between the two, or something on that way, and said he was standing here, thought, well, I've been in here, I'll just wait, and I'll stand the service. And said a man come through the building with a brown suit on, and a book, I think he's writing. And he told Brother Parnell, said, this is a closed meeting. It's only for deacons and trustees. Well, he kind of felt a little stepped on. So he went out the door of the new church, the church that had been erected, or this one repaired, fixed over. And when he went outside, it was snowing, bad weather, wintertime. And none of these people know nothing about this. And when he went out the door, I was standing there looking westward. Now I said, don't feel stepped on, Brother Parnell. I'll direct you what you should do. And Brother Parnell and the rest of them know I never told them no interpretation. It's right now. Yet seeing it when they would speak it. Did you notice how quick I got out there, Brother Parnell? They keep from having to tell you. And went on up, never said up to Brother Woods or nobody else. Nobody. Just left it. Because I wanted to see what it was leading to. Have you heard me say lately, I'm bothered. That's what it was. And then, Brother Parnell, he said that I said to him, Brother Parnell, start. And the first place you'll come to will be Zipporah. Zipporah. Which means hyphen or stop or something. I said, don't stay there. Then go next and you'll find an old woman. And then don't stop there. Go again, you'll find a real old woman. Don't stop there. And all the time I was talking, we were walking through the snow. And I said, go till you find my wife. And when you find my wife, stop there. And said he looked, and we was out of the snow on the desert. And I was vanished. And he looked back and he saw his wife pumping water from a well and some minister pulling on her to pull her away from the pump. She was watching him, and he woke up. Here's the interpretation of your dream. And I could have told you that night, but I just turned away. Insomuch that Zipporah and one old woman and another real old woman, that's churches. See? And Zipporah being actually the wife of Moses, Zipporah, and we notice that I told him not to stop at them, no matter how old they were organizations. Don't stop at them. They've lived their time. But when he comes to my wife, which is my church that Jesus Christ has sent me to in this last day, and here it is.
Hallelujah.
Stop there. And I was gone westward. Then, Sister Steffi, she may not be here because she's been in the hospital. I don't know where. Sister Steffi, yes, here she is. Sister Steffi comes to my house for a prayer before she went to the hospital for surgery. That God would help her and bless her, and He certainly did. And she said, I had a strange dream, Brother Branham. I said, yes. And she said, I dreamed that I was out west. And that's the sixth one. And she said, I dreamed I was out west. And it's rolling country. And when I looked, standing up on a hill, there was a real old man with long white beards, and what hair he had was growed down across his face, and he had a white wraparound, something garment, said the wind was blowing it. I think that's right, Sister Steffi, like that. And said, I kept drawing closer. He was standing up on top of a mountain, watching eastward. And said, I wondered, who is this old man? And she moved closer, closer. And when she got closer, she recognized who it was. It was the immortal Elijah, the prophet, standing up there watching the east. She said, I must see him. She had a need. And she ran up the hill and fell down there to speak to him in the name of Elijah, and said when she spoke, she heard a voice that said, what do you want, Sister Steffi? And it was me. Your dream was fulfilled right there, Sister Steffi. For immediately after that, I went to Louisville. What she was needing was a prayer. See, she got through all right at the hospital. And the sign of me going westward, watching eastward for my flock. Notice, when I went to Louisville and when I come back, I kind of started in the gate, and there was Stobbs drove there over my gate. Mr. Goings, the city street here, was going up the lane. He said, Billy, come here. He said, you have to move your gates and things. Fence, stone fence and gates. I said, well, okay, Bill. I said, I'll do it. When? He said, I'll tell you. I'll let you know when. I said, right, first of the year they're going to start doing it. I said, all right. So I started to go back in the house, and wife said, I've got to go to the grocery right quick. And I went down the lane, and a boy, Raymond King, which is a city engineer. I always called him Muddy here because we was little kids